What's going on, peoples? I'm feeling pretty pumped today because I've come prepared with another PS5 review, but this one isn't an original PS5 game. It's kind of different. We're going to talk about Judgment, which was originally a PS4 exclusive. Originally being launched as a PS4 exclusive, Judgment was the third game by Sega's other heavy hitter team, Ryuga Gotoku Studio, to use their Dragon engine, which was only a couple of years old at this point. Due to the nature of this beast of an engine being used on a console title and not PCs, the game had to have its frame rate capped and some concessions made to have it run stably. Fast forward a few more years, with all the Yakuza games seeing release across consoles and PC, and the latest game, Like a Dragon, seeing major success. I'll get to this one soon enough, trust me. It didn't take long after that release for RGG Studio to announce that Judgment was seeing a re-release on the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and the Stadia? I'm sure the 5 people who even bothered with the Stadia were ecstatic if they're fans, but I digress. And the upgraded release of Judgment saw all those enhancements that the game really needed. Upgrade to 60 frames per second, changes to the lighting engine, all those different kinds of next-gen bells and whistles that the game truly deserved to show off its quality. It also seemed to get this treatment in order to serve to build hype for the sequel, Lost Judgment, which was announced sometime after the remaster was. However, despite hype mounting for the sequel, there's also talk that the sequel may be the last game in this side series due to breakdowns between RGG Studio and Johnny & Associates, the talent agency that represents Takuya Kimura, the actor of the main character in Judgment, over PC ports? What the fuck? Well, that's still going on at the time of recording this video, and since it's still up in the air and fresh on the mind, I decided to take a look at the remaster while I anxiously await Lost Judgment dropping in September. Now, Judgment takes place in the same universe as Yakuza, but it shares this universe and setting only. It stars its own unique cast and story, with the only connections to the Yakuza series being the main city, Kamurocho, and established factions like the infamous Tojo clan for one. But aside from that, everyone who shows up here has no real connection to RGG Studios' main moneymaker. TLDR, no, you don't have to play any of the other Yakuza games in order to understand what's going on in this game. It's its own beast. I just wanted to make sure you understood this coming out of the gate. But as always, without further ado, here is my review for Judgment on the PlayStation 5. Judgment stars Takayuki Yagami, a former defense attorney who once garnered a huge reputation for getting a man proven innocent in what was thought to be an unwinnable murder case. Unfortunately, upon release, the man he got acquitted went on to murder his girlfriend and set her apartment on fire. Due to the guilt and attention brought upon him for being thought to essentially have allowed a murderer to walk free and murder again, he quits and leaves it all behind him. We then go forward 3 years to see that he's now working in Kamurocho as a detective at his self-established Yagami Detective Agency. In typical fashion, though, he more often than not ends up taking odd jobs to make ends meet until one day Genda Law, the firm he used to work for, ran by Ryuzo Genda, commissions him to gather evidence for a murder case tied to an ongoing serial murder case. At this point in time, there have been several Yakuza turning up dead in alleyways with their eyes gouged out, and the suspect in the recent case is one Captain Kyohei Hamura, who works under the Matsugane family of the Tojo clan, led by one Mitsugu Matsugane, a father figure to Yagami who supported him and paid his way through law school. See, Matsugane and Genda both serve as surrogate fathers to Yagami for supporting him in his formative years, so out of duty to both, he takes on the case. But as he looks into the initial case, questions start to arrive as proving Hamura innocent begins to prove exceedingly difficult. In the process of proving Hamura innocent, which, spoilers, he does, Yagami ends up questioning Hamura for details, and the answers he receives only work to cast suspicion on Hamura that he knows more that he's letting on. Eventually, Hamura gets let off, but Yagami, no longer a defense attorney, says that unlike them, his job isn't over when the case is. It's over when he finds the truth. And thus, with the info he's already gathered, Yagami sets upon answering the mysteries left in the air that this case has went and opened up. Since Hamura was proven not to be the killer, then who was? Why is he targeting Yakuza specifically? What is the meaning behind removing the victim's eyes, if any? With questions like these in mind, Yagami sets out to find the answers with his best friend and partner, ex-Matsugane family Yakuza Kaito, to learn the truth behind the murderer they come to call the Mole. And if you thought I just covered a lot here, then congratulations, you just passed chapter 1. of 13. As great as I find the story to this game, not only do I think you should see how it plays out for yourself, I also don't think I could do the breakdown justice if I want to keep this video within a certain time frame. Because, to be real, if I would break down how deep this rabbit hole goes, then this video would be 2 hours long, unapologetically. I don't want to do that to myself right now, and definitely not to my editor, but at some point since I completed my Road to Dragon marathon back in November, I thought I would like to start tackling the Yakuza games in video form, Judgment included, which is why we're here. But that's a big job for another day, so let me stay on topic. The story of of this game is packed to bursting with character lore, reveals, plot twists, world building, underground politics, dialogue that would make Metal Gear say damn, and so much more that if you only do the story and none of the honestly dense amount of side content, you'd still clock around 30 hours to finish this story. And honestly, it's worth every minute to me. You learn so much in the process, it honestly makes your head spin. By the time you finish it, you could slap Yagumi's face on that one meme from Always Sunny with the corkboard because that's how crazy this game gets. But to get to the bottom of the game's central mystery, you need to fight, both figuratively and very physically, and that's where the gameplay comes in. If you're familiar with the Yakuza series up until its latest release, you're surely familiar with the action that series offers. Well, now that it's official that the Yakuza series will continue on with the turn-based RPG style following the success of Like a Dragon, this is officially your new home for RGG Studios' now famous beat-em-up gameplay. That gameplay sees you taking on mobs of street thugs, Yakuza members, and a number of bosses from multiple factions using a number of martial arts techniques. You have to mix light and heavy attacks to form awesome combos while taking on multitudes of enemies and such using two separate fighting styles. Crane style focuses on wide sweeping attacks that allow you to handle groups, and Tiger style, the hard-hitting guard-breaking style that allows you to take on single tougher targets. The combos are simplistic and could very easily grow to be repetitive if it weren't for the sheer variety of options you have in combat. There's a bevy of amazing animations making the combos awesome to see in action, as well as the fact that you can use practically anything around you as a weapon. From traffic cones or bikes or business signs in the street all the way up to swords, bats, and the like. During a fight, if you see something highlighted in the environment, you can use it to whip someone's ass. Add that to the many heat actions, the series' patented finishing moves, the combat manages to keep itself from getting stale in almost any situation. You can find yourself wondering, I wonder what it'll look like if I do this, and sure enough, you'll have a satisfying answer to it. During the course of your adventure, the fights and quests sprinkled throughout offer you experience points which you use to unlock upgrades that range from stat boosts to new attacks and heat actions, some of which are incredibly situational, like one that can be used when you're extremely drunk that can take out 3 enemies at once, or even more specifically, this heat action that can only be used when you're near a swing set, which gives you all of, 2 places in the entire game where you could use this finisher. Yet in a weird way, the nature of the specificity related to the heat actions just makes them more enjoyable for the sheer level of uniqueness to some of the options on display, and it's even cooler when you're in the middle of a fight and you see the opportunity so you want to see what it does. Now, since I mentioned it, as you explore the city of Kamurocho, you can find a number of strangers ready to offer you quests, and they offer incredibly varied and strange scenarios that break up the tone of the otherwise serious action-packed story. For every main story scenario where you have to punch someone out, you'll have a side story where you have to chase down some pop idol's wig, which he refers to as a hat. I don't know. During a lot of this, you'll have sections where, as I mentioned, you'll chase items or individuals down. Then, as you're playing a detective, you have sections reminiscent of the Batman Arkham series detective mode sections without all the crazy high-tech stuff where you investigate areas for clues, and occasionally take pictures and stuff like that for evidence. Lastly, you have tailing sections, which are, if you've ever played an Assassin's Creed game, honestly every bit as boring and drawn out as you'd expect them to be. But thankfully, this is the kind of mission type you deal with the least. It just always kind of takes it out of me when you're playing a story section and someone asks you mid-dialogue to follow someone and you know this part's coming up, because it's so slow and just feels like it's padding out the story, which in a game as long as I mentioned this is, feels incredibly unnecessary. I don't want to overstate this part of the whole experience, but these are parts you will experience at some point or another, so I find it necessary to point out. That said, overall, the game is a very satisfying action experience which is oozing in style and substance. Speaking of style, can we talk about this game's godly level of presentation? If you've played any of these games in the past, you know that the setting is just as important as everything else in them. Kamurocho as a city can be said to be its own character, with so many moving parts, flashing lights, and bustling, crowded streets that it truly feels like a real living city. Within that city are numerous factions vying for control, and as such you run into numerous colorful characters who are often given great attention to detail in their character designs. Equally as often, they're given room to breathe in the dialogue, with just about every important scene in the story having fully voiced lines. This also, at the time of the original release, was the first game since the very first Yakuza game to feature an English dub. Now hold on, put your weeb pitchforks down. I say as I already hear you shouting, "Ugh, English dubs." You can use the Japanese voices, the option is there. I'm not really interested in arguing the merits of it to those types, but I do enjoy both versions. No matter which way you experience this game, the voice work is immaculate to me. I also appreciate the added detail of the English voices being properly lip-synced. It's a truly commendable job they did with this game. The only caveat is that you have to restart the game anytime you want to switch the language to see how it sounds, as it requires the game to load the properly synced succinct version. But between all of that, the cinematic cutscenes which feature various camera angles, the varied and incredibly detailed settings which are apparent from the outset as you see all the lights, reflective surfaces like puddles, the varied character models, even though it's very clear some characters get a little more TLC than others. But I have absolutely nothing but praise for how a fictionalized Japanese city acts as one of the most lovingly crafted and unique settings I've had the pleasure of experiencing in some time. Also, you can play VR board games, go drone racing, and go to an arcade to actually play other Sega games like Virtua Fighter 5, which was really impressive at the time before Ultimate Showdown came out, but still, man, I can't recommend Judgment enough, especially since it stands both aside and apart from the Yakuza series, with the added benefit of not requiring the amount of time investment to catch up that its sibling series requires. Personally, after having played the original release on PS4, experiencing this game a second time after finishing the Yakuza series with all the improvements reinforced how much I enjoyed this game, and I can't wait for Lost Judgment next month. Though I will stress that this is just a graphical and performance upgrade, that's all. If you've already played the game, I'm not sure how much a fresh coat of paint with a better frame rate is worth to you, but it's not a full-priced game, sitting at 40 bucks. If you can get past that, then I say go for it. If you made it to the end of the video, then I super appreciate you. I hope you enjoyed my breakdown of the game, and you know, you can always let me know in the comments if you had any thoughts about it. But in the meantime, if you're looking for more content, you can go follow me over on the Twitch channel. I'll leave that link in the description below. And currently we have another big project going, which is we are doing a live playthrough slash read through slash fan dub of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, which if you're a fan of Ace Attorney, you know we've been waiting years to see that release in the States. So I've been having a lot of fun with it, and if you guys want to come through and check it out and chat it up with us, check it out. But until then, I'll be back with more soon enough. Thank you very much, guys. I'll see you on the next one.